The lifestyle, yeah, shortcut, yes, and never more wife knows back. But we the life of us and cause it flat. But the boy let take Mr. Bob Stanners letter. Robbery to hijack.
50 people are murdered each day in our communities. These people are individuals that we live with daily. Our parents, spouses, children, brothers and sisters. I am Oratile Tlwaele.
And I'm Ndebo Moshweshwe, and this is Itubalami, my rehabilitation path to new beginnings.
It is clear that there is a trend of an increase in young people and violent offences. The people in the township, for instance, are going to not on necessarily formal work, but bayopanda. What is that? They're trying to make a living. But if you look at the legal implications of it, it is a criminal offence. More young kids are involved in violent offences. We all know that there's a dark figure on crime statistics in general in respect of crimes that are never reported or may never be reported to the police.
These and other crime statistics are indeed shocking. They serve as a stark reminder of how far we need to go to reduce crime and violence. With this gloomy picture in mind, just what would compel one to turn to a life of criminal behavior?
My name is Tano Mukwena. I was born in Soweto and I was raised in a town called Enedale in the Deep South. I've been living there since 1998, as long as I can remember. And I was raised there with four other siblings. I'm the third of the 5. And my mother practically raised us on her own.
Tumsan Maphosa, ke tswaletse ko Ndebele ko Siabuso. Ko gae no le monate a re gola re le bana e se family. No le monate nje just over around ko hae ho ba le batswadi bana ba ko hae. Ke nna ke mama ka and then le bana ba ko hae ba 3. Yeah, re 4 actually ko hae. Na ke second born mo baneng ba ko hae.
Growing up with my family, we weren't very close, especially myself and my mother after my father passed. And we were very distant, my mother, especially myself and my mother. We would fight a lot and all such kind of things. So they never knew what was going on in my life. They only just knew that I went to school, came back home. They never knew any other things about me. And when I got arrested, it was a shock to everybody, especially the community, because everyone knew me as that guy who just does what's right.
Ke hodile grande ke askela re kerekeng but along the way ka tlohela sekolo. Sekolo ke setlotse ka lebaka la dichomi just to be around on bad company of friends. Yeah, so I ended up leaving school. Sometimes re le bana batswadi a ba re jwetsa dilo re bona nkare batswadi ba batla ho re punish or eng re sa bone hore ba try ho re bontsha tsela. So wena a o tsola go ntle go strateng go dichoming o tlhakana le dichomi ho ba monate le etsa dilo tse tsoleng tseleng like o thoma o tsuba bo dikwae bo dipaje and then the next thing you know it I was saya go sekolong so o tloetse sekolo.
Growing up in Enedale for me personally it was very difficult because the area is filled with crime, violence and all such kind of things. So we are faced and we live in this thing every single day from a small child up till you grow up. So things like violence and crime, it becomes a norm to you, it becomes normal. And at home, like my mother, she done her best to raise us the proper way. So going from home, going into the street was very difficult because the two didn't mix, they didn't join together. So it was tough, but at the end of the day, you know, what your mother teaches you is the most important, and that's what I kept. That's what kept me alive in such a place.
Ke ile ka tshwarwa 2006 ka di 14th January. Okay, I was sentenced to 16 years. Ka di 31st January 2007. I was arrested for attempted murder and possession of unlicensed firearm. Ke ile ka tsena go building eo a ke tsena tlamile go nka koloi ya batho ke tshwere sethunya monna a zangwa ba easy ho eng ka koloi o itse ke sa le busy ke re ka eng ka okay wa kra lo re le ena o tshwere sethunya ka re nna ke tsebe sethunya je ne ke tshwere as a criminal le tshwere sethunya intention ya ka o tshwara sethunya ne se lo re ke batla go bolaya motho re ke batla o thunya motho just it was gore ke tshosetse motho ke khono kreya se ke se batlang ke tsamaye but o ile wa etsahala gore ya re nnetse re thunyana mo ha ba le motho e leng gore o shapa ke bullet ana we a le ka mara apartment ya hae so na mo le nna ka thunyeha a ke thunyeha mo almost ke lose loto la ka almost ke lose bophelo ba ka ka re ke ile ka shapa ya ka for sure.
I completed my matric, passed very well with a bursary, went off to go study at UJ. And when I came to UJ, it was more difficult for me because the lifestyle of UJ at varsity life was very difficult because people there had more money than what I believed I had, and I felt as if I deserved more. So I decided the best way is to resort to crime. And the one thing I loved the most, I loved cars. The people I grew up with in the area, most of them are people who steal cars and change cars and all such kind of things. So I thought that was the best way, and I started doing that with these people. Got to UJ and I took a student's car, and in so doing, UJ you cannot leave the facility without the owner of the car's card. So what I had to do, I had to leave the place with the student. And because I was by myself, I had to put the student in the boot. And I tied the student up and put her in the boot, and I left the place. And after driving some distance, went to the bank, took all the bank cards and withdrew all her money. And after so doing, I left her at a place, dropped her off, and I just drove away. And then later the same day, that's when I was found. And I got to read what happened to her. You know, as I read, she was very traumatized. She had to leave UJ. She couldn't attend there anymore because of all the trauma that I caused. So hopefully one day with one of the correctional services programs, the restorative justice, I hope one day to meet her and apologize for what I done.
When they come here and they're introduced to spiritual care, it changes them. They are able to take responsibility for the wrongs they have done. Even though things have gone wrong, there is still hope for them. And that has changed their lives, and they have a new attitude towards life. When you look at the holistic human being, the spirituality of a person is essential. A person must be able to connect to God and be able to understand their purpose. And then when they understand that, then they can make peace with whatever they're experiencing. And they will understand that no matter how bad things get, everything can still work out for good when you know that God is on your side.
Hold your head up high. Yes, you have made mistakes, but take responsibility.
The issue with regard to victim-offender dialogue and victim-offender mediation, we need to start with it immediately after the offender has been admitted into our correctional facility.
And that is why we came with the offender rehabilitation path. In other words, since admission up until the day we unlock this person, we open our doors, there is a definite path that he should have followed that talks to him developing insight into his offending behavior, but also participating in rehabilitation and skills development program.
What I have learned in prison, and the thing that brought me here to prison, is outside we are impatient. Being young, you want things to be fast. You want things to just be spontaneously there for you. We cannot wait We cannot see the future.
Crime I patele for what? You commit a crime it will cost 5 minutes, but you have to pay for 16 years or for the rest of your life in prison for it. So crime, it doesn't worth it at all.
Through this program, we will challenge stereotypes and transform societal attitudes towards offenders. Itubalami, my rehabilitation path to new beginnings.
Into endibona ngaba indenze ubana ngaba mandibe ndiyaqala ukwenza icrime ndingathi ziitshomi ezibesenza le nto yabo. Kunzima etrongweni akukho lula phakathi yabo. Kodwa ke xa ngumntu ozaziyo ubana ngaba ufuna ntoni, uyakwazi ubana ngaba ubomi bakho bangaphandle ubushape ngoku uselapha etrongweni ubana ngaba zizinto ebendihleli ndinazo even before ndingene eprison. But ke ngoku ndiye ndazivuselela ngoba benifumana ixesha, but xa ungaphandle awufumani ixesha loba ukwazi ucinga because usoloko uneetshomi yabo. So mose eprison ufumana ixesha locinga lobana ngaba ungenza ntoni yabo. If uzibone sewusetrongweni ungazimiselanga funeka uzame ukutshintsha ubomi bakho yabo.
The correctional facilities housed people who are in conflict with the law. Those people might be our brothers, our sisters, our fathers, our mothers, our cousins, and our friends.
Therefore, empowering them with the skills that we're giving to them, it gives them an opportunity to plow back to their communities that they come from.
How do we reintegrate and reincorporate those offenders back into society so that they do not repeat the same mistakes?
We have social workers, psychologists and psychiatrists, criminologists, whose main task is to develop a sentence plan. Now, that rehabilitation path is what informs the department as to what are the interventions that we have to put in place for this person so that once he's released, he's a law-abiding citizen.
Boksburg Production Workshops is accredited with FMP CETA and the MIS CETA, where we offer the different traits of skills to offenders. We identify the offender to attend a training course on the different skills where he is interested in. 325 offenders received for the past 2 years accredited qualification certificates on NQF level 1, 2 and 3, but also 51 offenders qualified in full with a Red Seal qualification in different trades here in the Boksburg facility.
Ka fitla ka kwa ko woodwork ne ke sa tsebe next ke sa tsebe le mabitso a ditools ke sa tsebe next at all ka woodwork, but just because of ne ke le passionate ka yona, okay, ka fitla ka ithuta ditools dilo tse ngata ka ithuta until ke tsena ke end up ke tseba today ke na le a trade certificate se leng gore se accredited. Stampulela ditsela tse ngata mo bophelong. Re ile ra ba le graduation ceremony for the certificate tse re di thotseng. Okay, the following day I think ba batla motho ka etsang interview le Radio 702. Maponesa re sebetsang lona ba ile ba bona gore okay, this guy actually is passionate about what he's doing. So they decided to come ba tlo nka nna gore go etsa interview. Okay, interview ke ile ka etsa.
You were John Robbie on 702. Well, this whole issue of rehabilitation of offenders and this artisan program that we've spoken about and had so much reaction to, but unless you deal with rehabilitation of offenders who have served their time, paid their debt, you're going to end up with people who re-offend.
This guy was being interviewed by John Robbie, and then I listened to him, and in fact, I was very touched by the fact that he was arrested at the age of 22. And then he acknowledged the fact that he was a teenager and he did wrong. And I phoned 702 to say, listen, I think I will secure a job for the guy.
And now we hear that in fact he has got parole and is going to start work. It is fantastic, and I think it's inspirational on all sorts of levels, and hopefully it means somebody who went off the rails with the help of all sorts of people, will now get back on the rails and get his life back together and become a, constructive member of society.
And then I think for the future, let nna ke batla ho ipona ke butse company le hore ke aka one day le nna ke khutle mo tronkong mo the way ke thotseng span ka teng le nna ke tlo change bophelo ba somebody else.
The Department of Correctional Services is working on developing juvenile centers into centers of excellence. In attempts of completing its mission, the department is working hand in hand with different stakeholders.
This facility came as a result of a need that was identified by Correctional Services, Boksburg, that they have a lot of young offenders who are interested in receiving formal education, but there's no infrastructure. We then started lobbying stakeholders to support us with that, and we are hoping that once we are done with the Boksburg Juvenile School project, we can deploy the same amount of young offenders to the other correctional centers to do the same work with the help of the National Youth Development Agency.
It is very important to try and prepare young people who are incarcerated for a future beyond the time that they spent in correctional centers. We prevent a situation where they reoffend and go back into criminal activities. When they come out of the prison, we can be able to assist them again as they know that through our other programs like the grant funding program, we will be able to assist them to register companies or even cooperatives for that matter.
Right now I'm studying my LLB degree. I'm doing my second year in law. I wouldn't say it's easy. It's very challenging. You can't attend any classes. It's just you and the book. And then when time comes, it's just exams. There's no one that's going to force you to study, especially in this place. You sit in your cell, you have to make the decision for yourself that I'm going to open my books now, I'm going to study. You have to be dedicated to what you're doing. And you have to also love it. So me, I enjoy law. I found it so far very interesting. And it has kept me going all the way. I set short-term goals. So last year my goals was to distinction in all of the modules I done. Unfortunately I couldn't, only got distinction for half. So this year definitely I'm getting 10 distinctions. That's my short-term goal.
This is a testament that one should never let the past dictate their future. Indeed, rehabilitation is at the heart of the Correctional Services strategy for offenders.
Lithuba lakho leli, this is the opportunity, grab it. Make sure that you get out of that place having acquired certain knowledge and skill so that you can improve your life. And by improving your life, it means that you're now able to play a crucial role that South Africa expects you to play.
Father, help me change my ways. I want to be stuck up in this life until my dying days. I want to be father to my son. Stop living on the run, in and out of jail like I was getting young. I'm tired of being a criminal with shame and disgrace. Instead of putting smile.
Namhlanje ngijabule kakhulu actually. Dala ngilindile lelanga leli. Yeah, sekuyiminyaka nje ngilimele so ngijabule kakhulu namhlanje. I'm excited about going to start about this new job. So I hope I will learn as much as possible and then maybe they can learn something out of me as well. Umuntu engifisa ukumbona ukuqala nje indodakazi yami.
The program needs a lot of support, especially at resource level. For example, right now we're telling the story, we're showcasing the stories of what happens when government work together with communities and private sector in telling their stories, but also in building the nation.
Ke ikutlwa ke thabile haholo ke thotse mosebetsi no ke semolla chapter e ntjha ya bophelo ba ka at least mosebetsi o tla keep busy le nna ke tla khona hore ke be a law abiding citizen le nna ke tse ntho tse sharp ka bophelo ba ka ho botlhoko ho ba ntate ngwana hao a hole o steng mo khaufa hae gore dilo tse dingwe tse a di batlang ana motho ka mo kopang tsona hore mo jwetsa maybe le utlwa di friends tsae go sekolong di nnetse di bua ka bontata bona yena tse gore ntata ya hae mo khaufa hae ho botlhoko for the whole week je ha batla lo tsamaya o shifta mo pelaka night batla lo mo pelaka ka re ke spaka se stella sampone ka re ke tsamaya ke moshile she was around 3 years I think yeah a ke tsamaya so no hila holo na thabile o mpona ke na go tella sampone although na tla tlo mvisita ko ne ke le go teng but nako ne ile nyane hore ka spenda le ntatae just for 1 hour nje ke nako nyana holo
ke expect hore a bereke a ntukisetse lelapa laka and then a ntsele makoti a godise ngwanaka.
I was once inspired by the guy abambiza uVela P Fisher uyu umuntu ukuthi uye wangizwa abang-interview eradioweni uthi into ayangi-inspire ngayo lo muntu athi uqale as a shop packer aphaka ama-shelf ey'tolo ayenzani but namhlanje he's the CEO yama-Furniture City mostly owabonayo ngoba bekane-vision ane-goal futhi afuna ukuliricha furniture ke na le lerato la yona since from a early age ke bona ntataka a nnetsa etsa ka re ceiling mo ntlong o iketseditse di-carpet o iketseditse so nka no re ntho ke nkile ko yena ke etsa ka lerato la yona so ho ba le lerato la yona ke yona ntho nka reng ya motivator gore ke tsoe each and every morning ke mosebetsing ke tlo ba able le lo lena di-skills tse ntšha tse ne ke sa di tsebe ka furniture le nna gore one day a ke re ka tswa go simolola company leng yaka se ke na le skill ka furniture in and out ke tseba gore ho etsalang mo furniture
ke mmone gore o change-itse a isa le Tumsane ola o na neile yena peleng ke Tumsane o a change-itseng o na le ditiro tse ileng gore di shetse di change-itse a isa le tsela tse ke di tsebang tse a ileng a tshwara ka tsona.
Since ngiphumileng yenga walk around the town ngibheka nje ama-shop athengisa ama-tools yawona they were quite expensive angifuni ukukhuluma amanga but I think ngizomanager one day ukuthi nami ngizithole ukuthi sengivulile ekuye yami i-company ngishintshe impilo zabantu I so wish nje ukuthi kungaba khona umuntu oyi-one nje onganginceda eku-achieveni le goal lami leli ngoba mangithi ngiyabheka yamathulusi adura kakhulu and ngithize nje mangenza ngenza i-quotation yamathulusi engiwadingayo roughly nje azongikhosta boma-26,000 and it will take me isikhathi eside ukuthi ngi-achieve lelo goal leyo ukuthi ngikhona ukuthi ngiwa-afforde lawo mathulusi lawo but one step at a time abafowethu ukuthi basesekhona emajele ngiyabacela ukuthi bangagive up elifini i-second chance ikhona empilweni and so now wonke ama-programs ukuthi bayawarendarisha lega correctional services ngiyabacela ukuthi bawathathe.
As communities, let's have faith in our offenders and support them as much as we can.
Together, let's move South Africa forward.
Bafeta zami impilo yakho yazi uyazikhethela the life you want you live, be your umuntu yazibona kuloko uyalahleka